1, and we are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Sent Wintraub, who's a happy camper today because he had his first snow in Vermont. How you doing,
I'm
Sent?
great. Thank you.
All right,
I'm good.
I want to say a quick thank you before we jump into today's episode to two sponsors. We have our friends at Huffy Bicycle sponsoring this week's episode, a household name in micromobility. For a limited time, use promo code ElectrekGM at checkout for 30% off the purchase of an electric green machine drifting trike. And be sure to explore all the Huffy Black Friday deals at Huffy.com. You have a link in the show notes, but we also going to have a little bit more to say about them because Seth actually tried the green machine and really enjoyed it. But before that, I also want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor also at Buzz Bicycle, an omni-channel e-bike brand that prioritizes excellent value for its growing base of e-bike enthusiasts. For a limited time, use promo code Electrek200 at checkout for $200 off a purchase of a Buzz Centris folding e-bike. And be sure to explore all the company's Black Friday deal at buzzbicycle.com. We're also going to have a little bit more to say about them there on the show. But at $200 off, if you need a folding e-bike, it's probably one of the best deals you can get out there. All right. So as we do in the last few weeks, as we've been doing, we often cover the new sell incentive, new discounts, and everything Tesla is doing to achieve its record sell this quarter. They're trying to deliver just over 500,000 vehicles to not be down for the full year. And these incentive stack up. This is me. Just give me a second. My notifications are annoying right now. All right, should be good. So the first one is actually a very interesting one. So it's not a direct sell incentive, but it's something that it's a sell trigger. It's a demand trigger. It's gonna result in more demand, and especially more demand in Tesla's leases, because Tesla has officially made lease buyouts, which are an industry standard. They've made it into they brought it back, or I don't know. Wait a minute. Was there? I don't think there ever was really. Yeah, because as soon as Tesla introduced the leases, that's when they already were talking about the full self-driving. And the idea that Elon Musk had at the time was like, let's not offer any lease buyouts. Let's just Tesla have all the cars back, because at that point, that was like 2016, 2017. He thought it was 3 years from now. Oh, is it your notification? Maybe I'm hearing set. I'm hearing a bunch of notification right now.
Possible. I'm quitting
Yeah.
everything, so hopefully
Yeah,
that
I
helps.
just on my side too. I just put everything on do not disturb, but somehow I still get some notification. That's weird. All right,
Okay, that's not good.
I think. All right, I just remove the do not disturb and put it back on. I assume that's gonna do the trick. All right. Yeah, the idea was like, oh, we're gonna use these cars coming off of the leases as our new robotaxi fleet, but obviously, the robotaxi fleet has never happened yet. It's supposed to come anytime soon. And just as Tesla actually put like a very firm deadline of Q2 2025 on this, Tesla is actually now reversing this move and now allowing lease buyouts, but not just on new leases. It's actually retroactive on current leases. So if you already have a vehicle under lease, what is this? I keep hearing this notification. This is crazy.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to turn it
Okay, it's on your side? Okay, I still thought it was on my side. All right. So this obviously is interesting because Tesla vehicles, like there's leases program right now at Tesla, are already some of the cheapest that have ever been. Especially we talked about the Model Y last week. The base Model Y is now the same price as a base Model 3 if you lease it, which is nuts. And the only disadvantage with that is like, okay, you lease your car for 3 years, and then Tesla gets it back at the end. You have no option to keeping it if you want to. And if you want to, like, it has been an interesting offer for us. It would have been an interesting offer if Tesla had buyouts, because the value of these vehicles went down quite a bit. So the deals can be very good at the end of a lease, but especially if you're satisfied with your car. So now Tesla is bringing those back, or for the first time, and it's likely gonna make it more attractive for people to lease Tesla vehicles, because from so far, Tesla has been about 3% of vehicles that deliver under of all the vehicles that deliver, about 3% on their lease programs, which is very low for the industry, especially for more premium vehicles like Teslas. All right. Adding to that, the other big demand trigger that Tesla hit this week is a boost to the referral program. So the boost is both on the buyer side and the referrer side, which has been boosted from 500 to 1,000, and for a referrer, and for the people buying a Tesla for the first time, from 1,000 to $2,000 off at the purchase of the vehicle. So this is the new program that came out in August. That it's more of like a direct discount of the vehicle rather than the credits that you can apply to redeem a bunch of very limited accessories. Now the referrer can apply that to buying a new car, to service. I actually use my points for my car was in service a few weeks ago, so it's actually much more useful. In Canada now, in the US now, it's even applicable on all Tesla vehicles, including the Cybertruck. So you get a Cybertruck $2,000 off if you're a first-time buyer. Well, it's not just for first-time buyer. For a first-time buyer, if you use a referral code from a Tesla owner, you get $2,000 off, and you also get it if you're an existing Tesla owner. It's just, instead of being the referral program, it's called a loyalty program. It's effectively the same thing. So you can get the car $2,000 off. All Tesla vehicles applicable. In Canada, though, I checked, and it's actually just the Model Y, Model X, and Model S. So the Cybertruck, which is off, which makes sense because they literally just started deliveries. And the Model 3 is also off, which is a little bit more questionable. We don't know why, assuming that Tesla has enough demand for the Model 3 in Canada, which probably makes sense, especially with Quebec being the biggest market for electric vehicle in Canada, and Quebec has their own incentive going down January 1st. So probably a lot of people are rushing right now to buy Tesla vehicle and other electric vehicles, resulting in probably Tesla having enough demand for the Model 3, but not enough for the Model Y. So you get $2,600 Canadian off the Model Y right now. So probably the best deal you ever had in Canada for this, and in the US also. And those obviously adds to, a year of free supercharging in Europe that they also had a heavy discount. You get 0% APR on financing if you get the full self-driving. So that's not cheap, obviously. But you also get FSD transfer. Tesla, basically every incentive that Tesla has ever put in place in its existence is in place now, and you can combine them all, basically. There was, before that, there was the 0% APR without the full self-driving, so I guess that was a better deal, I should say. That's fair. So yeah, I'm starting to think that Tesla should easily have the demand now for the 515,000 vehicles, but at what cost, obviously, because the referral program getting boosted.
I think they're going to
go down on APR, on the cost per car, or
they're going to continue going down.
Yeah, that's that's a big question. So the big boost is happening now, and Q1 is always normally down from Q4. So probably, I think it's one of the last good catalysts that Tesla's gonna have. It's gonna be able to show strong sales on January 1st. But then after that, the earnings are probably going to be difficult because Tesla is offering some crazy incentive to buy now, and it's going to affect the cost per vehicle sold, and it's going to affect the gross margins, I think, unless Tesla's a big surprise on the cost front also this quarter. And then, yeah, you're probably right. In Q1, it should be a decline in sales. All right, this was interesting. I know this week there was a drone flyover of Fremont factory, and a bunch of vehicles were spotted on the test track outside of the factory, a bunch of covered vehicles. And the shapes have drawn attention. It's just not clear what is hiding underneath those vehicles. So if you look here, especially if you look them side by side, that's what's interesting. Some of them might look like a Model Y. This might be Model, or even this. It's not clear because look at how high the back is here versus this one. It's raising a lot of questions. And this one looks a lot smaller than this one. It's shorter, but also very high on the back. And then you have this one looks similar. This one looks even smaller than this one. And then you have this one that's also shorter and different. And we know that we know the three things are coming from Tesla in the coming months in the early 2025. You have the Juniper refresh, the Model Y design refresh, and you have two new vehicles that are supposedly based on Model 3 and Model Y, are supposed to be cheaper, probably a little bit smaller. It's not clear. So it's very possible that these three vehicles are underneath these covers. Like I looked at them for a while, and like it's hard to tell. Obviously, like there's a lot of guessing going on. It's just all covered vehicles, but I wouldn't be surprised if this here on the last one is a new Model 3 based vehicle, the new cheaper Tesla based on the Model 3. The one in front, the new cheaper one based on the Model Y, and then maybe these are new Model Y refreshes. It's not clear. Like this one, like hard to tell. Maybe these two are might be the same. Might be Model Y based new vehicles, and this new refresh Model Y. This might be just an angle issue that's hard to tell why this back the rear is so high. Hard to tell, but interesting nonetheless.
Any chance that these are like competitor cars that they're taking out? Some new EVs or something?
Not impossible, but I don't know why they would cover them if they are just like benchmarking them.
Yeah, they do seem to have Tesla's kind of design language.
Yeah, the wheels are like Tesla-like so far. It's not impossible
Gotcha.
though.
Yeah.
Well, these should be coming soon. Like with obviously Tesla's focus very much like these cars don't exist for them right now because they don't want to affect their sales for the quarter. But as soon as the quarter is over, early next year, if Tesla plans to launch these two new vehicles in the first half of 2025, like they said, they will have to unveil them like very soon. And Juniper also is also expected in the first half of the year. So same for the new Model Y design. But when it comes to the new Model Y design, like it has to be already in production when they unveil it, obviously. And we heard rumors that there was already a production run made in China. So that's aligns with everything we hear about it coming soon. And yeah, that's another thing too that should result in lower sales in Q1. The switchover from Model Y production will result in a slowdown. We,
Yep.
we saw it with the Model 3 last year and early this year. It slows things down and result in fewer deliveries, fewer sales.
The Model Y is the big seller as well.
Yeah. Any kind of slowdown in Model Y is quite dramatic for Tesla. All right, should we talk a little bit about our friends at Huffy Bicycles?
All right. Today's episode is sponsored by Huffy Bicycles, a household bike brand name and e-mobility innovator. The company is celebrating over 130 years in this segment. Huffy Bikes sold across thousands of retail locations, shipping millions of bikes to customers throughout the U.S. and 40 additional international markets each year. I had a Huffy bike as a kid. I know most kids in the U.S. pretty close to them. The Huffy name is known for products that deliver riders comfort, style, and durability. Whether on a bike, trike, scooter, ride-on, there's something for every member of the family to enjoy. Since 2019, Huffy has been calling riders together with the rally cry, Live the Ride, which encourages families to celebrate together by exploring outdoors atop its products. Huffy's lineup includes the new Huffy Electric Green Machine, a nostalgic and electrified version of the classic drift trike Huffy fans know and love. I personally rode that, have one at home. I love it. This powerhouse drift trike is packed with 36 volts of electric power and a 250-watt front hub motor that lets riders reach exhilarating speeds of up to 15 miles per hour with the push of a thumb throttle. Perfect for thrill seekers ages 14 and up, the Electric Green Machine reignites the fun and excitement of childhood rides. The new Electric Green Machine is available on Huffy.com for just under $600. However, you can use promo code ElectricGM at checkout for 30% off. So that's $420. And I think that's valid for the next week or so. Huffy Black Friday deals are available now through the link in the description below, but only until December 8th, 2024. So act quickly while supply lasts. Thank you, Huffy, for sponsoring. Have you seen the Green Machine?
Yeah, I mean I have it here, but it looks like probably because I'm in Canada, they don't sell. Yeah, they don't sell it in Canada. It looks like
Uh,
bummer.
yeah, that's the pedal one. Yeah.
Oh, can I go back here? I should have switched. All right. Oh yeah, this was interesting. So yesterday Tesla released its API pricing for the first time. So the API, the way to communicate with Tesla's telemetry system, everything that you can do to the app, basically. Um, there's been a bunch of third-party Tesla apps out there for years, but they kind of been operating in a gray zone where they could access the data, but there was no official API to go through. It was all kind of, like I said, a gray zone. Last year, Tesla officially released API documentation, so especially towards around fleet management stuff. So that was the first time that third-party developers were able to work with something, and they thought that was the first step towards like Tesla fostering an LT third-party app ecosystem for the company. However, it wasn't pricing at the time, so it was just us introducing that. This week, the pricing was released, and a lot of developers have been quite shocked by it with good reason. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into all the pricing. Like you can see here, 150,000 signals for $1, commands, 1,000 requests for $1 and whatnot. So, it doesn't mean much to me like that, but there's a cost estimation calculator on Tesla's website, and a bunch of developers went through it to just understand, okay, how much their cost would be based on the current request, comments, data, and everything from their app. And the developer for the Tesla app, one of the most popular one, apparently like 400,000 Tesla drivers used it or are using it, calculated based on this pricing model that it would cost them $60 million per year. That's $60 million that it would have to send to Tesla to run their app. And yeah, that's pretty crazy. Another developer, the guy behind Tyler Corsair, the guy behind Tesla Scope, said that based on the calculator, it would cost them 7.5 times their revenue to run the app, which obviously would make it unusable, like make the business model unviable. In terms of the Tesla, though, they weren't too down about it. They did say that they think that they can get around it by using direct car communication over IP and Bluetooth. So I'm not sure how they're gonna make that happen, but it's apparently a way to get around it. The Tesla Scope guy was not on Twitter, was not as optimistic about the situation, though, and a bunch of other app developers too that rely on this were not too happy. And I said, you remember the Reddit thing that happened last year? Like this sounds like exactly the same thing Tesla is doing as Reddit, just trying to kill third-party app as they develop their own fleet management system and everything.
Yeah, and I get it, sort of. Like Tesla wants to build their own apps and kind of block others from seeing big pools of data. One problem, though, like companies like Con Ed actually use, through a third party, access to Tesla's thing to give users a discount. I think other utilities do as well. I think they'll be less likely to do that, and it might be a problem for Tesla owners who want to get lower priced gas, or sorry, lower priced electricity at during the evening. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, this can be worked out.
And that's another thing that Tesla is trying to do itself. Tesla Electric as the overnight charging rates and all that. So maybe the Tesla wants to do all of that themselves, and they want to cut the third parties from that. So it's a situation that we'll continue to monitor, because obviously a lot of like one of the top comments here is like Tesla-Fi is another very popular app, and this guy relies Dafty here relies on it. So we'll keep an eye on this to see if it actually makes some third-party app go away, or if Tesla actually like release some more reasonable pricing or something like that. Because obviously anything that's several times your revenue is not gonna make it. Like it's not viable. Tesla gave us an interesting update about the Supercharger program this week. Basically, they gave us an update on all their initiatives that they're doing to better welcome third-party EVs on the app with as little friction as possible for current Tesla owners who rely on the network. We're talking about things like obviously the situation with a bunch of other EVs not having the charging port at the right location for Tesla Superchargers, resulting in having to block an extra spot at the charging station. very not ideal situation. But you cannot get mad at people that do it, because that's Tesla knew about this, and they welcome those EVs on the network as they knew about it. So it's not the fault of those drivers. I know a lot of people like post pictures online like, hey, screw this Silverado owner for like blocking a spot or whatever. It's like, not really their fault. So what Tesla is doing now is, first of all, now it's gonna account for when a spot is blocked in this navigation system, because there's nothing more frustrating that you get to a supercharger and you see that there's one spot open at the supercharger. So you're like, all right, I'll be good when I arrive there. And you arrive there, and it still shows that there's a stall available. And when you look at it, there's actually not. And the reason for that might be that a non-Tesla EV is blocking one of those spots while they charge. So because Tesla's navigation system relies on plugging in at the stall to tell you that the stall is used, it cannot see that through the app. Now it can apparently assume that Tesla is now as a directory of like the vehicles that do block a spot if they're plugged in. So when they are plugged in, they assume that they block the other spot, and that is now reflected in the navigation system so that no one is caught having the wrong information. So that's good. That's one of the things. Increasing the number of long cables. So that's obviously the V4 post that we've been talking about for a while. The rollout has been quite slow, but now Tesla estimate that within the next 18 months, so a year and a half from now, they will have more V4 posts than V3 posts, so more longer cable, and that also fixes the issue. So that's good, but that's a little bit more of a long-term solution, because a year and a half is kind of, it's a while, and that's only having the majority of new charging cable being the longer ones. They're also modifying some sites. They said that they already modified 1,500 sites so that the drivers don't have to use more than two than two charging space. I mean, it's more than one charging space. I don't know if Tesla. I don't know if it's a mistake or we don't know of any car that takes 3 charging space, right? So it should be more than one, I assume there, charging space. So there's a way to design the charging station so that it's not just like side by side parking, basically, so that forces you to block a space. You can do like one each way. It's a bunch of stations like that. So that also fixes the issue. Finally, and this is an interesting one, Tesla disclosed that they have been encouraging other car manufacturers to put the charge port at the right location, or rear left or front right. And they are seeing some success with that, I guess. And we've seen more and more automakers like adapting that instead of like some of the crazier implication, like the was the Kona and the Nero that was in the front of the car. Like things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's where those are, but those actually work pretty well with Tesla chargers. So
yeah, it's more if people that put it on the rear right side, rear passenger side, that makes no sense. There's some automakers are doing some cool things too with dual ports too, where they put but even if you do a dual port, so I mean every application I've seen so far. One of them is just level 2, so the DC fast charging one still needs to be on the right side, which is the driver's side in the back. But you can have like one of the other side that's level 2, which is great for city charging. If you have city parking and you charge there, that's very useful for that. But Tesla is, continuing to encourage automakers to put them in the right spot. Basically, that's good. All right, that was a big story this week that got a lot of people talking. So, California, the Gavin Newsom's government in California has announced that if the Trump administration does indeed remove the federal tax credit for electric vehicle, it will compensate with its own new, I don't know if he said specifically tax credit, but its own new EV incentive to compensate for it. However, he said that there's going to be some restriction that will remove Tesla from the situation. And specifically what he said, the goal was the way he would do that is to exclude some EVs depending on their current market share in the California market, which people took it as targeting Tesla, obviously, because Tesla has the biggest market share in the US and in California specifically, too. So the goal for that was to create the market condition, I'm quoting here, the market condition for more of these car makers to take root. And Elon was not happy with it. He called the proposal insane. And Tesla is the only one making cars in California, so this move hurt jobs in California. So he's insinuating that that would, affect somehow production in Fremont if it does happen. So I don't know about you, Seth, but so when I first heard that the California would compensate for the tax credit, I was like, great idea. So at first, Newsom hadn't commented on the details of excluding Tesla, but my first thought was like, you know what? It's not a bad idea to exclude Tesla, but not necessarily for that reason. Like, I don't know if it makes sense to exclude someone because they have high market share. However, I thought like a good excuse to exclude Tesla, and a valid one in my opinion, is like exclude every automakers we are lobbying against the tax credit, lobbying to remove the tax credit. And from what we heard, Tesla is in that group now. Actually, it's the only one we've heard that are lobbying against the tax credit at this point. Ford, GM, Stellantis, as reported last week, have apparently approached the Trump transition team to show support for the, not necessarily the tax credit, but specifically the emission credits. And as for the tax credit, Elon has always been against it, he said, but Tesla lobbied for it during the Biden administration when before they proposed the IRA, and now they are lobbying against it, according to a report from Reuters. So if that's the case, I think it makes sense. All right, you guys wanted the credits to go away, so doesn't make sense for you to have access for it in California, which is the biggest market for EVs in the US by a wide margin.
Can you imagine how weird it is to be? Can you imagine how weird it is to be a Tesla lobbyist when you're going and you're saying we want the EV tax credit, and then a couple months later, like we don't want the EV tax credit, take it off. And,
I mean that it's no coincidence that the biggest Tesla lobbyist, Ron Patel, is not there anymore too. Like, and also he was a guy that worked for Obama back in the day and before coming to Tesla. So I think the people that remain around Elon at Tesla, and probably even more specifically around the policy team at Tesla, are probably all on Elon's sides by now. So I get your point, obviously, but I think for them it's not even weird anymore. It's like, that's what we do. But yeah, what do you think though, specifically of like trying to exclude Tesla of this new one in California?
I mean, I get it. Like Tesla's already gotten so much money from EV subsidies that, and then obviously they're trying to pull the ladder up behind them. I feel like the incumbents like GM and Ford could probably use some more help in getting their EVs to be competitive. But at some point, kind of got to fare on their own.
Oh, I agree with you on that. Yeah, but right now, like you said, like they need to. Like California is doing well too, so like that's a sad part. Like California is actually the part that is keeping the U.S. Decent, but not even decent, but like overall it's like not zero basically. Yeah, I think, I should do the math that like if it wasn't from California, what's the adoption rate in the US? I know that the overall is like 9%, so, and in California it's closer to like 25%, and California is a huge market also, so even if you don't do percentage, so it has to be like closer to 5% or something like that if without California, which would be so bad. But I mean, where you justify it like ethically is like Tesla took advantage of these incentives, and now as other need them and they need it less, they feel like, oh, it competitively is going to be good for us to remove it, to work to remove it. And like then I have no remorse excluding Tesla directly from that tax credit if that's the actual goal that they're doing, which Elon has stated clearly that's what they're trying to do. Is like, we are more cost competitive, remove that, even though it hurts the mission to accelerate the advent of electric transport in the US. It helps Tesla long term, so let's do it. So if you don't want the credit for everyone, like, all right, you don't get credit for just you instead. How about that? All right, let's talk a
That's
little bit
fair.
about our friends at Buzz Bicycle.
Buzz.
Yes, sir.
All right. Today's episode is also sponsored by Buzz Bicycles, an omni-channel e-bike brand that prioritizes direct consumerism and has found success in its mission to deliver ultimate transportation solutions at an excellent value for its growing base of e-bike enthusiasts. The company has adopted an ethos that the freedom of riding should be fun and accessible for everyone, no matter what adventure lies ahead. As such, Buzz team has utilized decades of industry experience to deliver a portfolio of e-bikes, all of which have been conceived and designed in Dayton, Ohio, that are comfortable, powerful, safe, and affordable. That lineup includes the Centris folding e-bike, which is as versatile and compact as it is fun. The Class 2 folding e-bike can easily navigate tougher terrain thanks to 20-inch by 4-inch knobby tires and front suspension. The Centris is powered by a 48-volt, 500-watt-hour battery pack that can propel it at a top speed of 20 miles per hour for an all-electric range of up to 40 miles on a single charge. When you're not riding, the Centris from Buzz Bicycle folds neatly to 34 inches in length and 22 inches in height, making it easy to store at home or carry in a vehicle on the way to your next ride or adventure. The Centris folding e-bike is available on buzzbicycles.com at a sale price of $899. However, you can use promo code Electrek200 for an additional $200 off. So that's a total of $500 discount in total, and brings the price down to $699. Pretty good price for a folding high-power electric e-bike. Buzz Bicycle's Black Friday deals are available now through the link in the description below. These deals end on December 8th, so check them out while supplies last. Thank you to Buzz Bicycles for sponsoring.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. I saw that was already a $300 discount on it. I was like, does our discount apply on top of it? Because that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like it's the
$699.
case. All right. We have a few more news items we want to discuss before we jump into your comment section. So we're gonna have plenty of times to talk to you guys. So if you guys have questions about any of the topics that we're discussing today about the EV world or any other topics that you feel like you want to take on it or discuss it with us, you can put it in the comment section right now. I want to get to it in about a few minutes, but we have a few more Rivian news, Porsche news, and BYD news before we get into that. First off, RJ Scaringe, the CEO of Rivian, has confirmed that the company is about to open its Adventure Network to other companies, other automakers, much like the Superchargers being opened up right now. So Rivian, if you remember, had a very, very, very similar approach to Tesla when it comes to charging, and makes sense because Tesla had the best charging approach by far of any automaker. So if you're gonna copy someone, copy the one that has the most success. And they did their own DC fast charging network that was just for them, the Adventure Network. Then they did their own. I don't know how they called it though. They had the equivalent also of the destination charging network with level 2. I just don't remember the name that they gave that. But now they are opening up the network, and right now they only have a CCS installed, but I think they're gonna also integrate NACS here. Rivian is still installing CCS cable, not NACS. It sounds like it intends to keep doing this for the foreseeable future, and that the charging world will catch up as car transition to NACS. Until then, people can use adapters. In the long term, everything will go to NACS. All right, so that makes sense. I mean, there's the first NACS vehicles are just coming on the market in the first non-Tesla NACS vehicle are just coming on the market right now with the Ioniq 5 2025, EV6 2025, and basically Hyundai and Kia are leading the charge on that. The network is still not huge right now. No, did we put the number of station in there? No, we did not. Okay, now has a total 91 sites and 700 chargers. So 91 sites is nothing huge, but it's still decent. And Rivian has placed them strategically around, like it's called the Adventure Network, around areas where you would go on adventures, so national park, off-roadings sites, and one of them is next to Yosemite Park. So these are often, a little bit neglected location when it comes to DC fast charging. So Rivian has you covered with those. All you need is an adapter for it. If you have a NACS and if you have a CCS vehicle, you're good to go. or you will be good as soon as they open it, which is happening soon. Still on the Rivian news, the loan that the Department of Energy has promised Rivian is now been officially granted a $6.6 billion in a loan, specifically for the Georgia factory, which has been delayed a bit. With the unveiling of the R2 vehicle, Rivian has decided to change a bit its strategy and focus on building them first at their normal Illinois plant, but they still plan to have the higher volume going to the Georgia plant, but they needed to secure that loan to move ahead of the plan. And one of the most interesting thing about this loan is let me see if I can find the actual phrasing here. All right. The loan doesn't guarantee unionization of the factory, but it forces Rivian, which is an interesting thing, forces not to have any active effort to prevent unionization of the plant, which is kind of like, I think you cannot technically, have anti-unionization effort in the U.S. anyway. Tesla has been, walking a dangerous line with that front, and they have been, in the hot water with the labor authorities around that too. But so they're basically like, we'll get you the loan as long as you respect the law and don't try to squash any unionization effort at the plant, which is interesting. Obviously, this is still Biden as a Department of Energy, and Biden, it's not the first time that they try to link funding and incentive for electric vehicles to unionization. The new tax credit at one point was suggested to be only available if it's from an EV that's been built in the US from a union, but that was killed quickly. This time they managed to squeeze a little bit in for the unions. We'll see how it turns out. I think the Illinois plant is not covered by the UAW just yet either. And, actually, I don't think Rivian has much more chance of being unionized than Tesla. Because, first of all, everyone I've heard from that works at Rivian is quite happy. So you don't really change things and decide to pay union dues if you're already happy with your employer. That can change, obviously, with time. And there's been one report recently about the accident rates being a little bit higher at the Illinois plant too for Rivian. So maybe there's something in that. But I feel like Rivian is probably gonna address that. Yeah.
Yeah, one other thing I saw recently, Vivek Ramaswamy, the other Department of Government, what is it, Doge,
Yeah.
said that they were going to review Rivian's $6.6 billion loan. Now,
Oh yeah, you said
obviously,
that.
conflict of interest a little bit because Elon's company is competing with Rivian, obviously. So
Yeah, it's not Elon that said that. It's Vivek, but you would have to to imagine that. I can certainly imagine a world where Elon send that to him is like, hey, you should. I'm not gonna say it, but we will review that. You should probably say that you're gonna review that specifically. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, the U.S. is really turning into some kind of like post-Soviet era like oligarchy at this point, and
What the crap?
yeah, it's and that's about it. All right, in sad news, Porsche is kind of rolling back their ambitions when it comes to electric vehicles. They had stated their goal to have 80% of their sales being electric by 2030. They haven't officially removed that goal, but that goal was the planning behind it had program rollouts of like phasing out new programs of internal combustion engine vehicles and hybrids, including hybrids, I should say. And now they say that they will actually go back to developing new programs using gas-powered vehicles because of what they see as EV sales being slowing down for them. Obviously, they are slowing down because they only had the Taycan for so long. And the Taycan did well and kind of at first and pushed them towards that goal. They're like, oh, damn, Taycan is selling a lot better than we thought it would. Then they announced this goal of 80% by 2030. But then in the first 9 months of the year, the Taycan sales are down 50%, which, not too surprising. It's a little bit of an aging vehicle, and they needed an SUV. They needed the Macan electric to come, and that thing. How many years late did the Macan come?
3 years late.
3 years. That's a lot of time especially in the U. Not to
Yeah.
have an electric SUV in the US for 3 years. It's like it's gonna hurt you. Like,
Yes, slow updates as well.
mhm.
And like frankly, Porsche's offerings have been a little bit lackluster. The new updates to the Taycan are impressive, but then they also jacked up the price to like
Yeah.
basically starting at six figures. So not surprising that they're not selling as well as one would hope. But I think if Porsche really went after the EV segment, they could probably do a lot better.
I mean, all you need is the Macan, really, and it's gonna do a lot better with that. I mean, you drove it, you liked it a lot. I didn't drive it, but I drove the Q6
Great.
from Audi, which is very similar with different packaging, and a little bit different tuning and all that. But I think these two vehicles, I think the Q6 and the Macan EV, are gonna take a significant market shares in the luxury SUV segment. Electric and non-electric. I think they're going to convince a lot of people that buy Macan, buy Q5 Audis, buy maybe not an Escalade, but name your luxury SUV. They're gonna be tempted to go electric with those vehicles now, and it's going to increase AV sales from these automakers. It's just you need to deliver those vehicles, and they've been super late with the PPE platform that supports them. All right, two quick news about BYD before we jump into the comment section. So if you guys have questions, put them in the comments right now. We can get to them in just a few minutes. So quick update, nothing too much in details here, but BYD has confirmed that next year they're gonna have the next generation Blade battery, and this is the LFP cells that have contributed a lot to BYD's success in the last few years, and the success of its own vehicles. So you see, is the Seal that use it, the Seagull use it. So a few of their lower end vehicles use it, and also they are selling it to other automakers. So Tesla is rumored to the BYD cells that they buy is rumored to be the Blade cells too, the LFP cells. It propels them into being the second biggest global battery manufacturer after CATL, on top of being an electric vehicle manufacturer. In the Seagull EV, the Blade battery enables 252 miles of range, 405 kilometers of CLTC range, and this is expected to be boosted significantly with the next gen platform, although without clear details other than it's coming in 2025 next year. Yeah, LFP cells are really taking over when it comes to the lower end vehicles. All right, still on BYD. This was interesting. There's a bunch of leaked emails regarding BYD's reaching out to suppliers in China and asking them to reduce prices. And people are getting scared right now in the Chinese EV market because they are afraid that this is gonna, well, I mean, not start another price war. I don't think the price war is quite over, but kind of reignite it a little bit. Just like throw more gasoline into the EV price war in China. And they are asking roughly like 10% cuts across the suppliers. And one leak email was particularly interesting. A leak email back from a supplier responding to BYD asking for price cuts. And it was kind of a scathing email. Like I've never seen that, like a supplier like talk to a client like that, where they were like just like flaming them basically for driving this price war, and trying to dragging. They said they were dragging down the industry with this kind of practice, and putting all the pressure on the supplier rather than themselves, and literally like telling them you should like design better, you should innovate rather than just go for price cuts, which kind of an interesting thing for them to say, because obviously like when you're a buyer for a company, like you're not in charge of the design or anything like that. Like you try to get the best price possible from your suppliers. So that's what they're trying to do. But at the same time, if I was one of those suppliers, I'm sure I would have a similar reaction. All right, should we jump into the comment section?
Yeah, I'm a little bit slow, so I don't know why there's a lag, but
I can do it. I
bear
can
with
do
us
it.
on that. That's all right. Carl in San Diego initially said, "I welcome Governor Newsom representing resistance to Trump and chaos and authoritarianism. We need climate leaders, not fascism and sycophants."
Yeah, I mean, California has
Thoughts on
been
that?
doing that against the Trump administration for a long time. Like they went to war on the legal war, I should say, against Trump when they tried to kill carb and well, or actually kill like carbs going to other state than California, and that didn't work out. So hopefully they can keep fighting the good fight on that front and limit the impact of the Trump administration on emissions from the U.S. and climate change.
Okay, let's see. Dan Overstay says, often cars are covered if they're going to be transported using a method that might result in dings and dents. They might be nothing special. Not
Yeah,
sure
I
what
mean,
we
I
were talking
thought
about
of
at that
that,
point.
but I mean, the shapes, like unless there's some camouflage under them too, like some of the shapes is just not consistent with the lineup that Tesla has currently. So I would think that there is something new, and also that the timing makes sense. Like everything makes sense, but you might be right too.
It's very unfortunate that since the auto industry is global and affected by world events, it's impossible to talk about politics to truly cover the industry as a whole. So, yes, we have to talk about politics sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's normal.
All right,
It's such a huge industry.
Carl in San Diego, how will Tesla know about block spots? That seems unlikely to be accurate. I'd only describe this feature if I had an accurate tech to truly see the car's orientation with cameras, which would be tricky.
I don't think. I think it's simply there's a handshake happening, and the station now knows what car is charging at the station, and based on that information, Tesla knows whether that car or not has to block another spot when parking, and that is accounted into the navigation system and the usage system for the station. I don't think it's camera based or anything like that. I don't think it needs to be, at least.
Antonio Hollyville says, that being said, I am driving my new Model 3 P with 18-inch Martian wheels and the Hakkapeliitta R5 EV tires and loving it.
Martian wheels from who? Who makes those Martian wheels? I'd be curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He said also he was able to transfer his FSD from 2018 car to the 2024.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
mean, we're
goal.
tempted. We're all talking about this here. I mean, now the thing that is upsetting me is like I would have wanted to go with the new Model 3 too, and I don't get the referral credits on it now. So I'm like, all right, that's the
Confirmed.
$2,600 that I'm not getting. It might make sense to get the Model Y instead, but I would actually prefer the Model 3.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about the Model Y, but also I'm thinking about the Juniper and will it have vehicle to grid, that kind of stuff, better looking, I'm sure. So it's a toss up what to do at this point. All right, Colin San Diego, number one, federal tax credits, two, lease loophole, three, carb state emissions credit trading, four, cafe rules. These are often getting conflated in these discussions. Trump doesn't control emissions credit trading.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, there's limits to what Trump can do, and I've been reading also today like they're trying to make it like a little bit more difficult to like repeal IRA like completely too before Biden leaves office. So we'll see.
Rivian's $6.6 billion loan from the DOE is insane, in my opinion. They do not have sufficient proof that they'll survive to warrant that kind of risk. That's
I
the
mean,
point.
sufficient proof that they will
I don't think
survive.
Tesla was.
Yeah,
I don't
like
think
when they
Tesla was
got
in great shape when they.
yeah that was like a $400 million loan. It was a lot smaller, something like that. But yeah, I think Tesla was in worse shape than Rivian is right now when they got their DOE loan. And we'll see. We'll get a better idea probably early next year with Rivian. With if they say that Q4 is actually like positive gross margin, like they said, then I think Rivian is gonna be in a much better situation fast. Because it's a company worth like $12 million right now, but they're selling a lot of cars, and they just need to sell them profitably. And they were a month into the quarter when they said that they still see positive gross margin in Q4. You have a lot of visibility into your quarter when you're already a month into it. So I give Rivian some leeway there. I think they can do it.
All right. Last thing is Ian Smith. I buzz on a lot in South Tacoma. Great ride and perfectly appointed for 5-person family. Better late than never. Okay. Good for you on the ID buzz. And then one more, Fred. Well, not a big fan there.
Not
Tesla's not
getting.
getting the rebate for a company that makes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care where they make them. Like I don't see how that has anything to do with it. First of all, like that doesn't hold that much value when Elon Musk is already threatening to close things up in California. Like you don't feel that much attached to it, as a state. But more importantly, Elon and Tesla are the ones lobbying to remove that credit for a very specific reason. Elon said it. He said he sees Tesla like it's gonna hurt Tesla and it's gonna hurt the rest of the industry, but it's gonna hurt them more than it hurts Tesla. And long term, that will kill or greatly reduce other EV programs from those automakers, leaving Tesla alone in the EV market in the US. That is a despicable strategy, in my opinion, especially from a company that claims that their mission was to accelerate the advent of the entire industry. It goes completely against it. So I don't feel any remorse. Like, all right, you want to do that, then two can play the game. And biggest auto market in the US, you don't get access to the tax credit there because you're lobbying against it. Again, remember, I think the better idea is like those that are lobbying against the tax credit to remove the tax credit at the federal level should not get it at the state level. Makes sense to me. Fair game. I don't like as much the idea, the way that they presented it as a market share thing, because Tesla has the biggest market share for good reasons too. So that is the wrong approach in my opinion. A better reason is like, you want to kill it, well, you don't get access to this one then. That I think is completely fair game, and I would like an actual argument against that rather than making the car in California. Like, could make the car like people like making the car in South Carolina or Tennessee are gonna get a tax credit in California. Like, it's the U.S. There's no, like, it's a free trade agreement between states. Like, that makes no sense. Are you gonna put tariffs between states now in the U.S.? Is there any states that have tariffs on other states for any kind of goods? No, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so too. That would be crazy. We never know. that could start happening. All right. Well, that was it for this week's episode of the Electrek Podcast. I want to thank our friend at Afi and Buzz for sponsoring this week's episode of the Electrek Podcast. If you did enjoy the show, please give us a like, a thumbs up, a subscribe. All these things are free to do, and they help the show more than you think. And we're gonna see you same time, same place next week. Be safe out there. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend. Bye bye.